While everyone else was baking banana bread and learning TikTok dances during the COVID lockdown, I was deep in the hospital. Princeton Plainsboro, to be exact. Dr. House wasn't just diagnosing patients, he was diagnosing my cabin fever. And honestly, Hugh Laurie kept me sane. The sarcasm, the cane, the eye rolls, I binged it all. Every ridiculous case, every time he said everybody lies, felt like comfort food for my brain. Forget therapy, I had Dr. House. And honestly, he was the best quarantine roommate I could have asked for. Confession time. I didn't just binge House. I fell for him. Yep, the limping, Vicodin popping, emotionally unavailable genius with a cane. Every insult he threw, every withering stare, every time he smirked like he was the only one in the room who got the joke, my heart skipped. By week 3 of lockdown, I wasn't just quarantined, I was obsessed. Hugh Laurie is great, don't get me wrong, but I fell for Dr. House. Welcome to Real Talk, where we spill the tea on movies and all the madness in between, with wit, sass, and zero sugarcoating. Yes, House is awful. He's arrogant, rude, cruel, addicted, and allergic to basic human decency. But we love him. Why? Because arrogance has to be earned, and House earns it. Diagnosis after diagnosis, pulling answers out of nowhere, saving lives nobody else could save. His cruelty stings, but his brilliance makes it magnetic. He's the guy you'd never want as your boss, but the one you'd crawl to if your life was on the line. The boyfriend you know is gonna cost you pain, but you can't help keep going back to. House even refused to see patients unless he had no choice. On the surface, it sounded ridiculous, lazy, arrogant, or like he just didn't want people staring at him and seeing a crippled doctor. But then he explained it, and honestly, it made sense in that twisted House way. By not meeting patients, he wasn't swayed by their stories, their tears, their pleas. He stripped away the emotions and only looked at the puzzle, the symptoms. Where other doctors might get clouded by compassion, House stayed clinical, detached, razor sharp. It wasn't that he didn't care, it was that caring got in the way of clarity. The irony is he avoided emotional involvement like the plague, but that's exactly what made him see the truth more clearly than anyone else. And of course, it's not a coincidence he feels familiar. House is Sherlock Holmes in Scrubs. House, Holmes, Wilson, Watson, it's right there. One man obsessed with puzzles, cold, calculating, addicted. The other, loyal, warm, a voice of reason constantly dragged into chaos. The cases weren't about medicine, they were mysteries. The human body was a crime scene, and House was the detective who couldn't rest until he cracked it open. But every episode wasn't just about solving the case, it was about cracking the human condition wide open. Each diagnosis stripped away not just symptoms, but illusions. About love, truth, morality, survival. Patients walked in with secrets, and House exposed them with scalpels made of sarcasm and brutal honesty. And the irony? The producers wanted an American for the role, but when Hugh Laurie auditioned, his American accent was so flawless they thought he was American. Nope, a Brit playing Holmes' shadow again. And here's a fun twist. When Hugh first read the script, he thought House was the sidekick, and Wilson was the lead. And oh, he taped his audition in the hotel bathroom. Imagine that. And let's not forget his team. Every one of them was unique, carrying their own baggage. Foreman with his pride, Cameron with her idealism, Chase with his daddy issues. Then came the next wave. 13, mysterious and haunted by her Huntington's diagnosis, the living reminder that medicine can't cure everything. And Towel, the plastic surgeon turned diagnostician with a wandering eye and more self-sabotage than a Greek tragedy. House pushed, prodded, sabotaged, and sometimes even saved them. Like a twisted saint, he cured them the way he cured patients. Painfully, like surgery without anesthesia. It hurt, but it cut to the truth. But beneath the snark and the brilliance, House was broken. The limp, the chronic pain, the addiction, the brutal father figure. This was a man who turned life into puzzles because puzzles didn't betray him. His father was a strict military man, late to dinner, no food for you, rules, rules, rules. So House grew up breaking them all. Rules were his enemy, rebellion his oxygen. And then came the quiet twist. That man wasn't even his real father. His mother's quiet defiance gave him bloodlines outside the military prison he grew up in. But the identity of his biological father, never revealed. House lived and breathed for puzzles. Patients lied, lovers left, but a puzzle stayed loyal. You could break it apart and solve it. Emotions, that was a game he refused to play. And love, that was House's ultimate blind spot. He admitted it himself. Pain made him sharper. Love made him weaker. When we thought House finally found his equal-wit partner, Cuddy, the boss, the woman who loved him deeply, he imploded. When she found a mass and feared it was cancer, instead of being by her side, he hid. He avoided her, not because he didn't care, but because he refused to face losing her. Cuddy tried to understand, but she realized House was not emotionally equipped for a healthy relationship, not someone who'd always be there. He slid back to Vicodin, not to numb the pain in his leg, but to numb the fear of loss. And that was it. She broke it off. And House? He was bitter, petty, and couldn't let go. He acted like a teenager dumped for the first time. The episode Out of the Chute makes this brutally clear. A rodeo bull rider falls seriously ill. House tells him the cure means he can never ride again. The guy pauses for a few seconds, then accepts it. Baffled, House asks, "I thought you loved those 8 seconds." And the rider just shrugs, "I do, but I can always find something else to love." Simple. Done. And it's a dagger, because House can't do that. He clings to bitterness like it's oxygen. He doesn't move on, he festers. Where this cowboy sees joy as replaceable, House sees joy as weakness. That's the difference. For a man who worships logic, he's constantly undone by his emotions. He just hides it under sarcasm. And that right there is sad. But the real tragedy? By the end of season 7, the usually passive-aggressive House finally opens up to Cuddy. When he tells her, "I feel hurt." You can see how deeply wounded he really is. And in one of their last raw moments, he even asks if she's dating anyone. She says no. That fragile honesty, that little hope is what keeps him hanging on. And then comes the patient who mirrors him a little too closely. A brilliant, progressive artist who changes her mind and agrees to radiation treatment, even knowing it will damage her brain, just so she can be with the man she loves. She wasn't just a patient. She was House's mirror. Same brilliance, same pain, same refusal to play by the rules. But unlike him, she chose love over suffering. And that broke him, because it proved his entire philosophy was a lie. So he lashes out, furious, yelling at her. He's already left once, he will leave again. You don't need to depend on people who are going to let you down. But he's not talking about her. He's talking about himself. She was supposed to be like him, brilliant, lonely, and in pain. But she changed. She found joy. He didn't. So when House shows up at Cuddy's home to return her hairbrush and finds her on a date, it's not just pain, it's betrayal. The no she gave him echoes in his head. He snaps. He drives his car straight into her house. That's tragedy. Raw, ugly, final. And when he finally surrenders, he doesn't take a plea deal. He accepts the maximum prison sentence, a twisted act of guilt and self-destruction. And that, of course, is the end of him and Cuddy. And oh, the quotes. House gave us lines that were half truth bombs, half slap-in-the-face therapy. Everybody lies. Med students still toss that one around like gospel. Or the cold pragmatism. I take risks, sometimes patients die, but not taking risks causes more patients to die. So I guess my biggest problem is I've been cursed with the ability to do the math. Brutal. And then there's the one that sucker punches every couple's trust. The most successful marriages are based on lies, equal parts depressing and uncomfortably accurate. But the one that lives rent-free in my head? A little girl asks if his bum leg makes him sad, and he shoots back, "I'm not sad, I'm complicated." Chicks dig that. Brutal, hilarious, and painfully true. Because yeah, we love complicated men. Blame biology, blame romance novels, blame whatever. We see the broken man and think we can fix him. Spoiler, we can't. But that doesn't stop us from falling every damn time. And Hugh Laurie made it work. Without him, House would have just been a bitter jerk we'd tune out after 2 episodes. But Laurie's sly half-smile, razor timing, and flawless un-American American accent made cruelty magnetic. Here's the kicker. Laurie actually thought he was auditioning for a supporting role. He assumed Wilson was the lead and House was the sidekick. Imagine that. 8 seasons later, the sidekick is one of TV's most iconic characters. But the role wasn't without cost. The limp he faked for years physically wrecked his body. The darkness of House got so heavy in his own head that Laurie admitted he needed therapy just to keep sane. Think about that. The man who made us laugh through House's pain was quietly carrying it himself. House treated everything like a puzzle because puzzles had answers. Life didn't, love didn't, pain didn't, and maybe that's why the show endures, because beneath the jaw-dropping diagnoses, the sarcasm, the outlandish medical mysteries, the explosions of arrogance, it wasn't really about medicine, it was about the human condition, about the mess we all try to hide. The irony is, while he was saving lives, he was destroying himself, popping Vicodin like Tic Tacs. And fun fact, they actually were Tic Tacs on set. He was a man who admitted that pain sharpened him, but love blinded him. Which is why, for all the women who drifted in and out of his life, he never fully let them in. His real love story was with Wilson. That bromance wasn't just banter, it was House's lifeline, which made Wilson's cancer diagnosis feel like a cruel joke. Karma didn't show up. The nicest guy on the show got the worst hand. Sometimes bad things happen to good people, and House couldn't logic his way out of that. The finale nailed it. House fakes his own death, torches everything, and chooses to spend Wilson's last months at his side. Because without Wilson, House couldn't function. And if you ask me, the unspoken question the show leaves hanging is chilling. When Wilson's gone, will House finally solve the one case he never could, himself, or will he self-destruct? And that's why I can rewatch it every 2 years and still fall for him all over again. Because Gregory House wasn't just diagnosing patients, he was diagnosing us. Our lies, our flaws, our desperate attempts to patch the holes in our lives. He was bitter, broken, brilliant, and irresistible. So yeah, during lockdown, everyone else had banana bread. I had Dr. House. And honestly, he saved me. But hey, not everyone spent quarantine with a snarky doctor and a cane. What was your COVID lockdown show? Don't leave me hanging. Put it in the comments. And don't just say Tiger King. I know at least half of you watched it.